Revealed, my grandson's heartbreaking plea against a surprising family secret my daughter plotted. Martha Thompson sat in the dim light of her living room, the soft murmur of a distant train echoing through the serene Midwestern landscape. Around her, the familiar sights, the framed portraits lining the walls, the worn armchair where her late husband had sat felt simultaneously comforting and suffocating. It was time to sort through his belongings, but instead, she found herself paralyzed by memories, particularly the gnawing absence of her estranged daughter, Lily. Suddenly, a knock at the door shattered her reverie. It was Jake, her ambitious grandson, his issues carved into the contours of his youthful face. The moment felt heavy. "Grandma," he began, his voice tight with urgency. "I need to ask you something." Her heart sank. She braced for something profound, but she never expected his words to pierce straight to the heart of her family's unspoken truths. "What if we dig into Mom's story? I think it could change things." His plea struck a nerve, unveiling a world of family secrets she tucked away beneath layers of grief and disappointment. Martha hesitated, the words lodged in her throat. Sure, she wanted to protect him from the painful legacy of Lily's struggles, the stigma that had followed her like a shadow. "Jake, it's complicated. Your mother's passed. It's hard to explain," she stammered, the ache of unresolved emotions tightening in her chest. Uncertainty coiled around her like a noose. Could they really peel back the layers of shame and grief? The idea was unsettling, and yet there was something about Jake's fiery determination that ignited a flicker of her own buried ambitions. Digging into Lily's story felt like a betrayal, the act of unearthing buried secrets. She felt a rush of conflicting emotions, fear of confronting the reality of her daughter's struggles and a desperate yearning for understanding. Yet there was something deeper, a gnawing dread that the truth might unearth more than they bargained for. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they sifted through the old boxes, the letters emerged like voices from the past, Lily's handwriting weaving stories that pricked at Martha's heart. Each word felt like a ghost pressing in on her, revealing Lily's battles with mental health and illuminating unfulfilled dreams. Pain welled up in her chest. How could she have overlooked her daughter's brilliance, the stunning writer that she was? Yet the daunting task of facing her own denial loomed larger than ever. What else had she missed? Tension filled the air between them, a crack forming as Jake questioned their past. "Did you ever truly try to understand her?" he asked, the hurt palpable in his gaze. Martha recoiled internally, the fracture in their understanding revealing how far removed they had been from one another. Was she complicit in the silence that smothered Lily's dreams? Every ounce of her craved peace in this chaotic flood of emotions, yet the walls around her heart felt impenetrable. With every letter they unearthed, emotions surged, threatening to obliterate her carefully constructed walls. Would revealing Lily's truth act as a catalyst for change, or would it deepen the wounds? The weight of family expectations anchored her thoughts as she found herself standing on the precipice of revelation. Could she inspire the healing Jake envisioned without unraveling the very fabric of their family, or was the cost of silence too high? As the tension mounted, the echo of a definitive choice lingered just out of reach. The sunlight streamed through the living room window, illuminating the dust motes that danced in the air. Each ray felt like a spotlight, an unwelcome focus on everything Martha had attempted to hide. She couldn't shake off Jake's question, lingering in her mind like a haunting refrain. Did she ever truly understand Lily? Martha's pulse quickened as she held another letter. The paper was aged, the ink fading, but the words exploded with raw emotion. It was one thing to read about Lily's pain, it was another to confront her culpability in that suffering. Each letter unearthed unspoken apologies and dreams lost in the weight of other people's expectations. The realization struck with the precision of a hammer. Martha had been so steeped in her grief and judgment that she'd overlooked her daughter's struggle to be seen. "Grandma, look at this." Jake's voice broke through her tumultuous thoughts. He found a note where Lily articulated her longing for acceptance, pleading for understanding she never received. His eyes were ablaze with determination as he read it aloud. The words hung in the air, suffocatingly fragile, yet tinged with a brightness that could light the darkest corners of their family history. Why didn't we see this side of her? Jake's question echoed Martha's turmoil, forcing her to confront the layers of silence they had spun around Lily's life. As if drawn by an invisible thread, her heart twisted into a complex knot of guilt and sorrow. Was the fear of confronting her daughter's truth driven by her own inadequacies? She felt the weight of generational pain, echoing through the confines of their family, a reverberating silence meant to shield them from deeper wounds. Maybe because we were scared, Martha finally confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. It was terrifying to admit how fear had governed her choices, how it had stifled any opportunity for reconciliation with Lily. The very idea of digging through the past felt like opening Pandora's box. Would they uncover hope or unleash chaos? Jake's brow furrowed in thought as he contemplated her admission. But we can't let fear paralyze us any longer, right? We have to know what truly happened. His determination sparked something dormant within Martha, a flicker of boldness entwined with apprehension. Let us continue, she said, her voice gaining strength as it brushed against the gravity of their mission. Together, they opened more boxes, each filled with remnants of Lily's life poems, journal entries, even unsent letters that cried out for forgiveness and chance. Connecting with Lily's essence revealed talents and insights Martha had never realized her daughter possessed. It was as if every letter peeled away a layer of her own blindness, revealing how much she had underestimated not just her daughter, but herself. With each discovery, Martha felt her resolve strengthening, albeit incrementally. She wasn't merely a passive spectator in this narrative, she was reclaiming her agency, embarking on a journey not just to unearth Lily's truth but to confront her own shadows. There was a profound realization that healing wasn't about erasing the past but embracing it, not merely surviving but thriving beyond it. As they pieced together the fragments of Lily's life, a new question surfaced in Martha's mind. What would it mean for her to not only reveal Lily's story but to redefine her own? The gulf between her and Jake narrowed as they forged a collective purpose, yet the path before them remained fraught with uncertainty. Glimpses of hope threaded through the darkness, but they also unveiled a daunting truth: reconciliation demanded vulnerability. Their family's legacy was not a simple tapestry but a complex design stitched with pain and love. Would they have the courage to confront it all? Pushing the last box aside, Martha felt both exhilarated and terrified. The conversation had shifted. It was no longer just about understanding Lily but also about understanding the depth of their own connection. As she met Jake's gaze, she realized they stood on the brink of a monumental choice. Would they bravely face the whispers of the past, or retreat into familiar silence? In that defining moment, Martha made an internal promise: she would not let fear victimize them again. The unknown loomed ahead, but she felt her heart swell with determination as they prepared to take the next step. Little did she know, the very act of delving into Lily's story would uncover more truths than she could ever anticipate. Martha took a deep breath, allowing the weight of Jake's gaze to anchor her resolve. Their surroundings, once a cocoon of comfort, now felt like a crucible where long-buried truths would be forged into clarity. She could sense the air shift, pregnant with the potential for change. As the remnants of Lily's life surrounded them, each box hinted at stories yearning for their moment in the light. Which one should we read next? Jake's voice was firm, laced with a determination that sparked something deep within Martha. Ideas swirled in her mind, battling against insecurities that had long governed her. Could they find the key to understanding Lily? Could they unravel the secrets that had held them hostage? Let us try this one, Martha said, her finger hovering over a pristine journal tucked into the corner of the box. Its leather cover was softened by time, and a silver clasp lay waiting to be unfastened, like the secrets within. With a slight hesitation, she unclicked it, revealing the neatly penned pages. As she began to read, her heart caught in her throat. These were not just Lily's thoughts, they were bursts of brilliance, fragments of her suppressed creativity. The words leaped from the pages, expressions of longing, anger, and simmering talent clashing against the mundane day-to-day. Here was a version of her daughter Martha had never known. This Lily was vibrant and moving, yearning for a world of her own design. "This is incredible," Jake exclaimed, his fingers trembling as he read along. "She was so talented, but where did it all go? Why didn't we see it?" Martha fought back tears as recognition rolled through her like waves. For so long, she had been caught in the narrative of her own failures, unwilling to acknowledge the hidden capabilities of the daughter she had lost. Yet, here lay evidence of a brilliant mind suffocated by unfulfilled expectations, a mirror to her own unacknowledged dreams. "Maybe we were too caught up in our own lives," she whispered, the realization creeping up where doubt once festered. Fear had held sway, convincing her that confronting Lily's passions would only lead to disappointment. But what if that was the lie they had lived? What if trepidation and negligence had stifled not just Lily, but both of them? "Grandma," she was screaming for our help, and Jake's words trailed off, a haunting truth washing over them. It was painfully obvious now, by not engaging with Lily's aspirations, they had driven a wedge between them, one forged of silence and misunderstanding. In that moment, Martha's thoughts crystallized. Understanding Lily wasn't merely about uncovering her artistic soul, it was about confronting her own neglect, the unrealized ambitions that had turned into bitterness over the years. It struck her with alarming clarity. Could she dare to rewrite her own narrative, shedding the identity woven from a singular perspective steeped in fear? The letters and journals had revealed much, but it was here, in this intimate dialogue with Jake, that she glimpsed her own reflection, her potential to be more than just a mother caught in regret. There was possibility beyond the past. But first, she would need to address the uncomfortable truths that lay across all their lives. "Jake," she said, the words feeling like a lifeline in murky waters, "we need to honor her dreams. We can't shy away from what she may have wanted us to see." His eyes sparkled with understanding, igniting a shared ambition. "So, we tell her story?" "Yes, but more than that," Martha emphasized, adrenaline surging through her. "We also create space for ourselves, our truths, our crafts, and our ruptured dreams. It's time to reclaim what was lost." Eager anticipation mixed with lingering uncertainty as they realized the gravity of their joint mission. They would not only untangle Lily's buried aspirations but also facilitate transformation in their own lives. Yet, a daunting thought loomed: the venturing beyond would require them to confront the causes of their shared silence. Would they have the courage to attract the firestorm of emotions buried beneath the surface? As Martha closed the journal, her heart raced with trepidation. They were on the cusp of revealing, but it was just the beginning of a revelation that would ask more of them than they could predict. Martha's resolve came to a breaking point, the question imploding in her thoughts: how deeply could they dive, and would they emerge transformed on the other side? Martha's pulse quickened as she glanced at the scattered journals and colorful art materials. The vibrant remnants of Lily's spirit painted a stark contrast against the muted surroundings of the room, now fraught with implications. Each artifact was a piece of a greater puzzle, a puzzle that could unveil not just her daughter's hidden life but also the dormant parts of herself that she had long neglected. As she processed what lay ahead, a sudden urge to act bubbled up within her. What if we actually showcase her work? Martha proposed, the idea tumbling out with unexpected force. An exhibit, maybe? To honor her creativity and explore our own? Jake's eyes widened with a mixture of shock and excitement. An exhibit? Grandma, that could be amazing. But how? We barely know what all this is. The enormity of her suggestion suddenly sank in, and a wave of doubt washed over Martha. She'd never considered herself an artist or even remotely involved in the world of showcasing creativity. But the feeling that had sparked within her began to build, transcending her typical self-doubt. We learn. We gather everything: these journals, her artwork, her letters. We can curate her story together, she declared, her voice rising with conviction. Right. Jake chimed, enthusiasm shining in his eyes. We could spread awareness. Maybe we find other people who knew her or even workshops we could participate in to share her journey. Martha couldn't help but smile at his exuberance. The prospect of doing something meaningful gradually overshadowed the cloud of uncertainty hovering over her heart. Together, they began to brainstorm ideas, diving into plans that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. However, with every idea they shared, they uncovered gaps in their understanding of Lily's life that provoked uncomfortable conversations. What about her friends? Jake asked, suddenly somber. We might need to talk to them, too. They had to have known what she wanted initially. A tremor of fear coursed through Martha at the thought of confronting those who had shared in Lily's world. Could they bear witness to the rawness of their grief and ignorance? The thought of vulnerability was daunting, yet deep down, she recognized that their journey couldn't afford to shy away from hard truths. It's time to open the door, isn't it? Martha pondered aloud. We can't tell her story in pieces. We have to be open to the real narrative, ours and hers. It'll be difficult, but it's necessary. Their conversation swelled with possibilities, but beneath the buoyancy loomed shadows of doubt. What if they couldn't pull it off? What if their attempts to honor her memory fell flat? Martha's mind raced, the weight of her indecision becoming almost palpable. Yet with each shared idea, she felt the spark reignite a faint glimmer of hope and purpose. In that moment, as the sun dipped lower, casting elongated shadows across the room, a shift occurred in Martha. She recognized she was no longer just parsing through Lily's life. She was stitching together fragments of her own hidden dreams hatching under layers of years spent in longing silence. With each conversation, they were not only breathing life into Lily's memory but also pursuing liberation from their own constraining narratives. What if we announced this mission at the local community center? Jake suggested, cutting through her thoughts. Do you think that's too grand? Martha asked, hesitant yet intrigued. No, it's perfect. It draws people in. Everyone deserves to know Lily. To understand what she stood for, he asserted, determination flooding his words. Martha stared at Jake, his zealous spirit becoming a mirror for her own burgeoning aspirations. Together they were challenging fears that had long remained unaddressed. All right then, she agreed, heart racing with both excitement and apprehension. Let us do this. It's time to go all in. As they spoke, something in the air shifted. The room brimmed with the promise of exploration, potential, and an opportunity to entwine their lives with Lily's. Yet, beneath the fervor, a deeper concern settled in Martha's mind. Could they truly confront the echoes of the past and the relationships that had faded in silence? That question hung heavy in the tumultuous atmosphere, teetering on the edge of both excitement and dread. The path lay ahead yet remained shrouded in uncertainties. It was a journey they both had to embark upon, ready to confront the truth in its entirety. Martha took a deep breath, feeling the exhilarating tension weave around them, renewing her resolve. Would they find the courage to reach out amidst the discomfort? As shadows danced around the room, she couldn't help but wonder, what secrets would they uncover about Lily and themselves when they dared to open dialogue with those they had avoided for so long? The following morning, Martha awoke with a sense of determination that contrasted sharply with the uncertainty she had felt just hours before. The antiseptic chill of the dawn nudged her awake, and she allowed it to inspire a newfound clarity. This was not merely about preserving Lily's legacy, it was about reclaiming her own. As she moved through the haze of her routine, the thought of the proposed exhibit lingered like an echo in her mind, amplifying her resolve. As she prepared breakfast, her hands moved mechanically, but her thoughts raced, contemplating not only the logistics of the exhibit but also the emotionally laden conversations that lay ahead. Could she, at her age, immerse herself in such extraordinary engagement with the community? Just as she poured coffee, her phone vibrated on the table. It was a message from Jake. Are we still planning to visit Lily's friends today? The choice was clear, albeit daunting. She could feel her pulse quickening at the thought of initiating that kind of conversation. It was one thing to share her daughter's art, but another entirely to confront those who might possess the keys to Lily's heart, the very secrets Martha had been trying to decipher. Not wanting to stall, she quickly typed back a decisive, yes. Let us do it. The car ride was punctuated by nervous silence. The weight of potential revelations hovered like a storm cloud above them. Martha gripped the steering wheel a little tighter as they approached the neighborhood where Lily had spent her adolescence, filled with friendships that she'd never fully understood. Each minute dragged on, stretching her anticipation taut. As they arrived, Jake seemed to sense her apprehension. His earnest gaze urged her to embrace the adventure ahead, and they stepped out of the car, confronting the familiar yet distant landscape of Lily's past. They walked slowly towards the house of one of Lily's closest friends, Anna. Noticing the details that seemed untouched by time-trimmed hedges, sun-faded lawn ornaments, Martha felt an odd mix of nostalgia and regret. She had spent so many years on the fringes of her daughter's life, always focused on the duties of motherhood rather than the unfolding story Lily was experiencing in parallel. As they approached the door, Martha hesitated just long enough for Jake to notice. "Grandma, we can't turn back now. We need to hear this." His words pierced through her turbulence, infusing her with a flicker of courage. Before she could second-guess herself, Martha knocked. The sound reverberated in her ears, jarring memories of how many times she'd ignored the inner calls for connection, the conversations that could have bridged their worlds. Anna answered almost immediately, her face morphing from surprise into a soft smile. "Martha." "Jake. It's so good to see you." There was warmth in her voice, and Martha felt her heart begin to thaw. They stepped inside, and the surroundings reflected the comfortable life Anna had built, a stark contrast to the turmoil roiling in Martha's mind. As the initial pleasantries faded, Martha felt the tidal wave of emotions return. "Anna," she began, faltering slightly in her words, "we wanted to talk about Lily. We're hoping to honor her memory through an exhibit of her work." The words spilled out, earnest but trembling, and Anna's smile faltered, her brow furrowing in concern. The transition from light nostalgia to the heavy gravity of the conversation felt almost tangible. "An exhibit? Oh, that sounds lovely," Anna managed, though her voice was thick with something less lighthearted. "But there's so much about Lily you might not know." Martha's breath caught in her throat, a heavy silence falling. She feared what revelations might emerge, hidden sorrows or secrets that would unravel what little she understood of her daughter's life. "Like what?" Jake interjected, displaying a bravery that mirrored Martha's growing heartache. "Lily was battling a lot towards the end, things we didn't share. Her art was just a part of a bigger picture we all missed," Anna said, her voice now softer yet full of weighty complexity. Every word was a spark, igniting internal debates within Martha's heart. Each revelation, a piece that both illuminated and obscured the daughter she thought she knew. The thought of Lily struggling alone, buried beneath layers of unspoken truths, tore at Martha's resolve. Would they be ready to confront the deeper, darker nuances of Lily's reality? As Martha took a deep breath to respond, she realized they were on the precipice of a more profound understanding, the tipping point that could either heal or shatter them. What else would they uncover as they navigated Lily's intricacies, and would they find the strength to face the truths that lay hidden in the shadows? Martha's heart raced, the weight of Anna's words pressing heavily on her chest. This was no longer just about art. The exhibit was morphing into something immeasurably larger, tangled in unspoken truths. She could almost hear her daughter's voice echoing from the past, desperate for understanding, yet painfully absent. "Anna, what do you mean?" She grasped for clarity. The room felt smaller now, the edges closing in as uncomfortable memories surged from the depths of her mind. Anna shifted her weight, glancing at Jake before continuing. "Lily felt a lot of pressure from everyone, not just you. She had dreams, but also a fear that she wasn't living up to them." Martha's throat tightened as she processed this revelation. Had she overlooked Lily's struggles, those unvoiced fears, while busy ensuring that she had the right clothes, the right friends? "I thought I was helping her," she managed, though the conviction was starting to waver. "Sometimes assistance can feel like a cage, you know?" Anna replied softly. She was so talented, but the more people admired her art, the more afraid she became of disappointing them. Martha's thoughts spiraled into chaos. Each stroke of Lily's paintbrush was a letter of desperation, a plea for liberation disguised as beauty. Did she unintentionally stifle her daughter's spirit? Jake, sensing Martha's turmoil, voiced what she could not. "Did she ever talk to you about it? Did she express any of this?" His voice was steady, but Martha recognized the tension beneath it, his own concerns loaded with unspoken fears of his own. "No, not directly," Anna replied, her gaze dropping. "We all just saw the surface, the vibrant colors she laid out. Inside, though, the shadows were darker than we realized." Martha fought against the tears that threatened to spill. Each revelation felt like another chink knocked into the fragile armor she'd been constructing around her heart since Lily's death. What if addressing these shadows meant confronting her own shortcomings as a mother? "What can we do?" she asked, desperation bleeding into her voice. "How do we honor her if we don't know the whole truth?" "Maybe understanding is the first step," Anna suggested. "The exhibit isn't just about displaying her art, it should reflect her journey, her struggles, not just her triumphs." Martha pondered Anna's words. Organizing an exhibit of Lily's life, not just her work. This was not merely a tribute, it could serve as a bridge for others, creating dialogue about the very issues that had burdened her daughter. There was power in unveiling the truth, a potential for healing not just for herself, but for others who may have faced similar silences. With renewed determination, Martha formulated a plan in her mind. They would delve deeper into Lily's art, gather stories, encourage those who knew her to share honestly. This process would be fraught with challenges, but the path sprouted under her feet, and she felt an urge to stride forward. "Let us track down her friends, those who supported her," Martha declared, her voice gaining strength. "Not just Anna, but others too. We can create a space where they feel safe to share." Jake nodded vigorously, his youthful enthusiasm reminding her of their shared purpose. This was about Lily, yes, but it was also about connecting with others, understanding humanity in its raw form. As they moved deeper into conversation, crafting the framework for their project, Martha felt a flicker of something new, confidence. However, as they began to brainstorm names and venues, a seed of doubt planted itself in Martha's mind. What if they unearthed truths that shatter the idealized memories she held dear? That potential weight loomed over her, an imposition of darkness against the colorful tapestry of Lily's legacy. "There's so much to uncover," she said reluctantly, contemplating the journey ahead. "We have to be prepared for whatever we find." With those words, the gravity of their task sank in. Would uncovering Lily's true essence bring peace, or would it lead them down a path of heartache anew? The tension in the air grew thicker, and in that moment, Martha understood they would need a plan, not just for the exhibit, but for their emotional stamina, because the journey into Lily's past could expose fractures they weren't ready to confront. "How do we start?" Jake asked, his youthful optimism undeterred. Martha could only think of one response as they all sat silent, lost in thoughts of the impending journey. "We start by facing the shadows." With those words, the door to their uncharted territory opened, hinting at the revelations waiting just around the corner. What truths lay beyond the threshold, and would they emerge whole from the shadows of Lily's heart? The next morning, the sun infiltrated Martha's kitchen, illuminating the remnants of a restless night. She stood at the counter, desperately attempting to focus on a routine cup of coffee while her mind churned through the possibilities of the day ahead. Each sip felt heavy, exacerbated by the anxiety coiling in her stomach. Gathering Lily's friends, reaching out to those who had been a part of her life, was a necessary step but also a precarious balance between healing and heartbreak. As she stared out of the window, the neighborhood felt unchanged, ordinary, yet her internal landscape was shifting. The emotional weight settled more deeply with the dawn. She was about to lever open a trove of memories that could either serve as links to her daughter's spirit or rip open old wounds she wasn't prepared to handle. "Martha, you good?" Jake's voice broke her reverie, jolting her back into the moment. He leaned against the doorframe with his backpack slung over one shoulder, the morning sun catching the edges of his youthful face. His energy contrasted starkly with her swirling uncertainties. "Just thinking about our plan, Jake. I want to approach this the right way." She turned to him, valuing the clarity that youth sometimes provides. "You're worried about asking the wrong questions?" The boy's insight cut through her fog. Martha nodded, feeling the acknowledgement ripple between them. "But you have to ask. Isn't that how we get closer to the real Lily? You said you want to know her journey." Yes. But what if? Her voice faltered as her fear tumbled out. What if we uncover something that changes how I see her? I've spent years trying to remember the best moments, and what if those memories are a facade? Jake stepped into the kitchen, stirring a sense of urgency in Martha's heart. But that's the thing, right? Even bad memories are part of who she was. You can't just hide from them. His logic was razor sharp. She took a deep breath, letting the edginess of doubt slide slowly through her fingers. Okay. You're right. If we truly want this exhibit to reflect her, we need to understand everything, the light and the dark. The resolve sounded firm, but the uneasiness lingering behind her words betrayed the turmoil inside. Soon after, they got to work. The hours unfolded like a vivid tapestry as they began reaching out to Lily's friends. Each conversation summoned different chapters of Lily's life, laughter punctuated with stories of struggles. Through tearful confessions and fond memories, the mosaic of Lily's reality began to materialize. Anna, who had joined their efforts, recounted how she often found Lily steeped in solitude, battling with self-doubt, even amidst the external praise. She needed space to breathe, Anna explained, her voice heavy with regret. Sometimes, I just assumed she'd be okay. I didn't realize I could be that support. Martha listened, struck by the constantly evolving image of her daughter in her mind. She jotted notes, each line a brushstroke painting a more nuanced portrait of Lily. Yet mixed within the richness of these stories was a lurking fear. With each revelation, the darkness of Lily's struggles loomed larger, potentially overshadowing the bright tapestry of her artistic prowess. As they continued gathering stories, Martha proposed a meeting with parents of other children who had faced similar pressures, opening herself to the idea of expanding the narrative. However, not everyone felt comfortable navigating those turbulent waters. When she suggested it to Jake and Anna, she sensed the reluctance. Do we really want to dig into that? What for? Jake questioned, his youthful exuberance dulling at the thought of confronting pain that wasn't his own. It's important, Jake, she insisted. Understanding her might mean we can help others. But a whisper of concern rippled through her. Would her pursuit of understanding transform into merely re-excavating pain for the sake of others? Selfishness nabbed at her consciousness, and she was faced with yet another moral dilemma. Should she prioritize the greater good or protect her emotional well-being? That evening, after scribbling down notes and piecing together narratives, Martha felt overwhelmed. Sitting on her bed with Lily's old sketches strewn around her, an unexpected surge of guilt washed over her. Had she pushed them too far? Was there a threshold she had crossed? Decisions layered like intricate brushstrokes as she prepared for the discussions ahead. She could either choose the security of silence or plunge into uncomfortable truths. The weight of each held a different promise. With the mixture of anxiety and excitement brewing, Martha closed her eyes, pondering the potential landscapes her journey could navigate. The question loomed, echoed through her thoughts. What was she willing to sacrifice to truly understand Lily? Tomorrow, the conversations would begin anew, and with them, the chance of diving deeper into a legacy painted with both brilliance and shadow whether she was ready or not. Each response could lead to a truth more profound than imagined, and Martha felt a disquieting thrill in that uncertainty. There was no turning back now. What awaited them was an exploration of the raw and unfiltered reality of love, loss, and the haunting artistry of life. With her heart pounding, she wondered, was she ready to confront the heart of her own existence woven through her daughter's struggles? As dawn cracked the horizon, Martha felt the weight of expectation suffocating her. She sat in the quiet of her kitchen, the air still heavy with the phantom presence of her daughter, grappling with the enormity of her task. Today would bring her deeper into the labyrinth of Lily's life, unveiling hidden corners she had long left in shadow, areas that might reveal unflattering truths. Jake arrived with Anna, cheerful smiles barely masking the tension beneath. They had gathered Lily's friends with morning texts, each confirmation amplified Martha's anxiety. She set her shoulders to absorb their youthful optimism, recognizing it as a contrast to her burgeoning dread. Worrisome revelations loomed like storm clouds over their expedition. Are you ready for this, Martha? Anna asked, squeezing her hand for support. We're doing this together. Together, Martha echoed, the word feeling like a lifeline in turbulent seas. They settled around the kitchen table, photographs and sketches of Lily strewn before them, a collection of memories, each an artifact of someone who once filled rooms with laughter. Clarity flickered in these captured moments but was often clouded by the questions they stirred. She cleared her throat, her voice only a whisper. We need to start by discussing what Lily meant to each of you. The group shared glances, nervous yet eager, uniting in their common purpose. The first story was shared, a humorous recount of a playful day together, and laughter rang through the room, a brief reprieve from Martha's internal storm. However, it wasn't long before the chatter faded into deeper confessions. As memories surfaced, struggles emerged, the crushing weight of expectations, friendships tested by the brutal honesty of adolescence. Each new tale wrapped around Martha's heart, squeezing tightly. She was reminded of the layers Lily wore like armor, and the more they peeled away, the more the sorrow beneath appeared. What you don't see is that Lily often felt invisible. It was like walking through a gallery where nothing felt real. One friend, Clara, finally spoke, her voice trembling but resolute. She never wanted to be a burden, but there were times we could have seen through the facade. Martha felt a frigid wave wash over her. Had she really been blind to her daughter's struggles? Had her love not been enough? Each confession unspooled years of assumptions she clung to, forcing her to confront her own failings. The guilt gnawed at her, but she placed a steady hand on the table. Each moment felt pivotal, revealing the poignant complexities of raising a child navigating a world poised to crush the sensitive. After several hours, the conversation shifted towards parents of other children who battled similar emotional storms. I think we should reach out to them, share our experiences, Anna proposed, her eyes bright with determination. Martha's heartbeat quickened, the thought igniting a tension that made her voice falter. But what if things we uncover lead back to deep pain? Not just for us, but for those families? Anna frowned, ever so slightly. We're not here to rewrite history. We're just shedding light on it. We could make a difference, it could help them heal. Martha's mind spun. Was this bravery or foolishness? Each family's sensitivities weighed heavily on her. If she pursued this path, the echoes of every heartbreak would flutter back to her, exposing fractured pieces of life she might not want to reconstruct. Yet buried beneath, a fierce resolve took root. Perhaps understanding was worth the risk, an avenue for transformation and renewal. As dusk settled, the group wrapped up their session, but Martha felt a burning imperative rising within. She needed to write to those families and delve into their truths, no matter the cost. With the night bathed in quiet solitude, the prospect of confronting unimaginable grief now felt less unbearable than before. There was power in truth, in the potential for healing not just for her but for others like Lily, lingering in silence. Yet as she journals her decision, a flicker of apprehension remained. Would the pursuit of understanding unravel her or fortify her? The stakes were too high, and the consequences too real. As she penned the final words, a knock at the door echoed around her, fracturing her focus. With trepidation, she approached, wondering who might be waiting on the other side, the truth-teller or another harbinger of buried pain. Martha turned the doorknob slowly, her heart racing. Instinctively, she braced herself for whatever awaited her on the other side. The door creaked open, revealing a young boy, perhaps 12, with anxious eyes and a determined expression. He stood clutching a crumpled piece of paper, the edges worn from nervous fingers. "Mrs. Patterson?" he asked, voice steady despite the tremble in his posture. "Yes, that's me," she replied, her curiosity piqued. "What can I do for you?" "My name is Oliver." "I'm Lily's friend," he said, his gaze flicking to the ground, then back to her. "I heard about what happened, and I came to talk to you." Martha's heart sank. "About Lily?" Oliver nodded, biting his lip. "Yeah. I think I know something important about her." The weight of his words pressed down as they hung in the air, thick with tension. "Come in," she urged, stepping aside to let him enter. The boy hesitated for a moment before crossing the threshold, the door closing firmly behind them. Martha led him to the kitchen, the same table where she had shared so many memories with Lily, now just a tableau of fragmented recollections. "Would you like something to drink?" she offered, her instincts kicking in to soothe the unease that settled between them. "I'm okay," he replied, eyes aflame with intention. He unfolded the paper and placed it gently in front of her, a shaky breath escaping his lips. "I wrote this the day before, the day everything changed." Martha unfolded the note, her breath hitching at the familiar handwriting. Lily's words leaped from the page, and as she read, her heart twisted painfully in her chest. The note spoke of dreams unfulfilled, of feeling trapped beneath the weight of expectations, and a desire for understanding that felt achingly familiar. But there was something else. Deep in the margins, scrawled in hurried letters, were names and a cryptic message: "Find the truth before it's too late." "What does this mean?" Martha asked, her voice trembling with urgency as she turned to Oliver. "What did she want me to find?" Lily was scared, he confessed, tears brimming in his eyes. "She kept saying things were worse than they seemed. Sometimes, she'd talk about a group friend she felt close to but didn't want to burden." Martha's mind raced, a web of realization forming. Was there another layer to Lily's pain? What group? She pressed gently, the weight of her responsibilities pressing down like a physical force. "Kids who felt left out or like they didn't belong," he explained. Lily was worried they wouldn't be able to talk to their parents. She thought if she shared her feelings, it could help them. The boy's voice quivered, shattered by an awareness that belied his age. Each word opened a floodgate within Martha, the motivations behind her daughter's actions crystallizing before her. "Did she ever talk about the parents?" she asked. Oliver nodded, wiping his eyes. "She said they didn't know. Some of them thought everything was okay, but it wasn't. The puzzle pieces slotted into place, shrouded in new complexity. Anti-parent sentiments, darkness lurking under layers of childhood innocence. What had she missed? What choices had led her away from truly seeing Lily? Martha felt the familiar waves of guilt wash over her again, but tempered with an emerging resolve. "Oliver," she said, her voice now steadier than before, "help me reach out to those kids and their parents. We need to uncover the truth, even if it's painful." "Yes. I want to help," he responded, determination edging his voice. As they began to formulate a plan, Martha's internal dialogue intensified. What truths awaited her beyond this initial courageous step? Would it foster healing or unravel more than she dared to imagine? That thought flickered in her mind like a light on a stormy evening. Was she ready for the upheaval ahead that would undoubtedly follow? With renewed conviction but lingering trepidation, she jotted down a list of children, names that had been abandoned in silence. Together with Oliver, they would forge a path through the shadowy corners of memories, untangling truths for Lily that perhaps would lead to freedom not just for her daughter but countless others still grappling with the unseen. Martha straightened her spine, taking a deep breath as the enormity of this new journey began to settle in her bones. Just as hesitation clawed at her resolve, the looming question grew louder. Could she really unearth the raw truths needed, or would such revelations expose fractures too deep to mend? As they began to brainstorm together, the door of their futures slowly creaked open, inviting them into the unknown, a place where real healing and dangerous truths awaited. As the dawn broke over the Midwestern horizon, Martha Thompson stood resolute in her kitchen, the weight of her choices pressing down yet invigorating her spirit. The transformation that had begun with her grandson Jake's plea had come full circle, visible in the slant of sunlight illuminating whispers of hope on the table scattered with notes. Reality had shifted. She was no longer merely a spectator of her daughter's life, but an active participant in reclaiming a fragmented legacy. The day had arrived for the community gathering, the culmination of weeks of heartfelt reflection, outreach, and discovery. Each story shared had come like a thread unwinding the tapestry of life. Lily had woven a life rich with ambition but tangled in shadows. Martha felt a surge of nervous energy. She was prepared to honor her daughter's voice while confronting her own silence. As they arrived at the community center, the familiar tension ignited. Families from varied backgrounds mingled, a sea of emotions reflecting both anxiety and anticipation. Some bore the weight of tragedy, while others were cloaked in an aura of hope. Stepping inside, Martha felt the ghosts of assumptions and missteps trailing behind her, yet she also carried the burden of new understanding. Remember, we're not just sharing Lily's story. We're unveiling a truth that could liberate us all, Martha whispered to Jake, who stood beside her, his youthful face illuminated by the promise of purpose. With each participant seated, the gathering transformed into a fireside chat, a space to breathe, connect, and share. One by one, voices emerged, hearts spilled truths that had long marinated in silence. Lily used to say she felt different. Like she was walking on glass, began Anna, a wave of nostalgia in her voice. She wrote poetry that spoke to us, but it was veiled. We didn't see how deeply she was hurting. Cracking open that silence felt like weathering a storm, and Martha leaned in to listen, each recounting galloping through her heart a mounting tapestry of both pain and healing. I thought she was managing, spoke another parent, their voice wavering. Until it was too late. I wish I had joined her in those conversations. The clarity that confusion had obscured sent ripples through the assembly, an awakening that lingered in the air. Martha caught Jake's eye, and the gravity of their shared mission solidified in the space between them. They were weaving a new narrative, one that embraced vulnerability, learning, and growth. As each person bared their souls, the hidden grief morphed into a collective strength, assembling a bridge to understanding. When the moment came, Martha rose. As she cleared her throat, murmured gasps echoed. Today, we honor Lily not just by sharing her artistry but by embracing everything she represented, the longing, the resilience, and yes, even the darkness she battled, she began, her voice steady despite the tremor coursing through her. Every word spoken here redefines her legacy. We can see now that her pain was unspoken yet palpable, an anthem quietly yearned for all to understand. The chamber breathed deeply as she continued, in this room, we create a pact instead of silence. Let us lean into the difficult conversations. Let us highlight not just our children's talents but their internal magic, the fears they harbor, so that we can carry our past with reflection that inspires connection rather than fear. The gathering erupted into nods of agreement and murmurs of acknowledgement. She had addressed not just her daughter's story but catalyzed a powerful opportunity for change, a seismic shift from isolation towards unity. When it came time for Martha to unveil Lily's artwork alongside testimonials, there were tears and laughter, but beneath it all was a burning intensity, real connection born from the ashes of suffering. Anecdotes emerged that painted a complete picture of Lily. Her poetry formed a soothing melody while her art touched the depths of the audience's hearts. Martha recognized genuine transformation swirling around her, a collective rebirth, sparked by one daughter's fight. Much to Martha's surprise, she discovered newfound strength, a realization that she could share not just in Lily's story but her own as well. Connecting directly with other parents became her moment of reckoning. It was time to peel back the layers of expectation and judgment enclosing her for years. That evening, as families mingled around her art display resonating Lily's journey, Martha flourished in her newfound role as both an advocate for change and a guiding light for healing. Each interaction was a thread, weaving tighter bonds into a fabric of shared truths and mutual understanding, a stark contrast to isolation and disappointment from before. A woman approached. "Thank you for your openness," she said, eyes glistening. "You've shown us the way. Your vulnerability is powerful." The acknowledgement stirred deep satisfaction within Martha, a validation she had sought for so long. At that moment, she realized she had become a facilitator of transformation, not just for herself but for every person gathered that day. Throughout the subsequent weeks, Martha continued to channel Lily's creativity into community workshops, inviting families to express their hidden emotions through art. The response was overwhelming. She witnessed healing unfold, powerful connections form, even within those who had once felt invisible. Martha Thompson had not only faced her fears but conquered them. The act of uncovering Lily's narrative afforded her closure, an established path of understanding that superseded her grief. As she stood amidst the swirling colors of community expression, Martha felt solid confidence surge for the first time. She truly recognized her own competence as a mother, a storyteller, and an advocate. In the reflection of this journey, she comprehended that acceptance lay not just in the acknowledgement of the past, but in weaving those memories into vibrant legacies that could inspire others. Martha smiled as she closed the final chapter of Lily's story, one imbued with love, loss, and the promise of new beginnings. Now, the pulse of the future surged through her. Out there, a multitude of stories awaited the next generation ready to share and heal. That's how legacies transform into something profoundly more powerful enough to uplift and unite. Because sometimes, the most painful secrets are buried gems waiting to be found, redefining connection, and ultimately restoring hope. As Martha folded her art supplies away that evening, she turned to her audience with fervor. Join me. Let us carry this momentum forward. Let us invest in stories. Share your joy, your sorrow. For together, we can illuminate moments that whisper the truth louder than silence ever could. The call echoed, urging others to lift their voices, for while Lily's journey had concluded, its ripple would continue, the legacy not just of a daughter who lived hidden, but a mother who learned to embrace the entirety of her truth. Now was the moment to make commitments to understanding, healing, and honoring dreams unfulfilled. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure these narratives reach those who need them. Comment your reactions and theories about this profound journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this conclusion. You need to share their stories. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.